Hi kids, this is Amanda for a ChessKid.com video, and today we're going to be continuing to expand your chess vocabulary with another language of chess video. Today our word is resign. Now, what happens when you or your opponent resigns? We're going to find that out today, and we're going to find out all the different ways that somebody can resign a chess game. But first, what exactly does it mean if you resign in a chess game, you ask? Well, resign is a very similar word for to forfeit or to give up on. So if your opponent's looking pretty glum and he holds out his hand and he says, I resign, then don't think you're being tricked. Don't worry. That means that you still win the game even if you didn't get to use your favorite checkmate technique. Now, before we can talk about the position we have on the board, let's talk a little bit about the different ways that somebody could resign in a game. For one, they may simply tell you the words, I resign, or I forfeit, or I give up. And the minute that they utter those words and you shake hands with your opponent, the game is over and you have won the game. So if 5 minutes later you're outside and you see your opponent from the last round and he's like, wait a second, I didn't really want to resign. Can we go back in there so I can keep fighting? No. Once you have shaken hands and your opponent has said he's resigned, the game is over, even though there was not a checkmate on the board. So that is the first way that a game can end because somebody resigns. The second way is if your opponent politely tips his king over and holds out his hand. By tipping his king over, he is saying the words, I resign. So, if the king is tipped over intentionally, then the game is over. However, I've seen this happen before where somebody's elbow accidentally knocks the king over. That is not the end of a game. If there's an accident where a king accidentally gets knocked over, that isn't somebody's way of saying that they resign. They can pick their king back up and continue to play on there. So there has to be a king knocked over with the intention of resignation, which is usually pretty obvious because your opponent will also tell you that he or she is resigning. Now, when will somebody resign? That's a tricky question because opinions differ on this matter. So let's talk about it a little. Usually someone will resign if they feel that their position is pretty hopeless, and that can mean a lot of different things. So somebody might think their position is hopeless if they have no pieces left, or maybe they only have 1 or 2 pieces left and they don't think it's enough. Or sometimes they might think they're very, very, very close to being checkmated, and that might cause them to resign. So if we look at the position we have set up here, the black king in this game ended up resigning in this position. Now, why did he do that? Well, let's look at it for a second. What he was afraid of was that the white king was going to hop on over to this f7 square, and that the black king would have no choice but to move his king forward to the h7 square. And that as soon as he did that, the white queen was going to hop into g7 and give him checkmate. So black figured, all right, you know what? I know I'm about to get checkmated in a couple moves, and I'd rather go outside and rest up for the next round. So I'm just going to go ahead and resign here. And he tipped his king over, told his opponent he resigned, and the game was finished. Now, in this case, that game was over. But what if black had continued to fight on here? It's an interesting idea because some of you guys might be saying, well, he's only down a queen, and yeah, it doesn't look so good, but what if somehow we could get a stalemate here? And let's look at this position. I bet some of you guys who are still working on your king and queen checkmate have actually stalemated somebody here. I know I did it a lot when I was younger because the king and queen checkmate takes so much practice. And what if white accidentally put his queen on g6, thinking he was getting the queen closer to the king and he was going to bring his king over later? Well, if we look at this position right here, the black king over here in the corner is not in check. And if we look at the 3 squares around him, we know he can't go here because the queen's got that square covered. He can't go here because the queen's also got that square covered. And if we look right here, oh, he can't go there either. The queen's also got that square covered. But is the black king in check? He's not. So he is not in checkmate. He is in stalemate. And black would be able to sneak away with a draw in this game, whereas when he resigns, he has no choice but to take home the 0 point. So the minute that you resign, you give up any chance of being able to draw or win the game. The only result you get when you resign is a 0 point. Now, I said earlier that sometimes people's opinions differ on when to resign. So if you and your best friend went to the same chess tournament and you came out and you said, "Oh, I resigned, I just gave up, I didn't think I had any choice. He had a king and a queen and a rook and I just had my king," your friend might look at you and be like, "What? You resigned? No way, but you could have been stalemated." And that's what a lot of people your age tend to think, that when you resign, you're giving up any chance you had of maybe getting stalemated. And it happens more often than you might think. So it's usually a good idea to go in there and fight till the very end, because that's the only way you'll for sure know that you didn't miss out on an opportunity to maybe walk away with an extra half point that you otherwise would not have gotten. Alright, so next time your opponent holds out his hand or tips his king over and tells you, "I resign," have no fear. You've still won the game, even if you weren't able to use your favorite checkmate technique. So this is a new word you guys can add to your chess vocabulary. Remember the word resign, and sometimes you might hear the words forfeit or give up on too. And add this one to your chess vocabulary and try not to use it too much, but hopefully some of your opponents might be using it a little bit on you. This has been Amanda for a Chess Kid video, and I'll see you guys next time.